Hi, welcoming you back to the Motorsport Geek YouTube channel, and today we're going to be looking at British Racing Motors, BRM's P153, a car used in the early 1970s in Formula One racing. And if you're loving the content, liking it, grab a like, grab a subscribe, and feel free to ask any questions. So here it is, the BRM P153, a car that was kind of the last of the really successful BRMs, took it to second place in the Formula One World Championship and did win a Grand Prix. A couple of things that jump out at you straight away when looking at this car. It's the early days of sponsorship, and the car was adorned with this Yardley, and you've got this brown and gold and black stripes all the way over the car, front wing there as well, and also big Yardley on the rear wing. Sponsorship was in its early days at this point, and Yardley had created a range of makeup for men, hence adorning the Formula One car. Very much stereotypical, as you'd say, and it's the first thing that jumps out at you. These cars are kind of sponsorship early days. It is, as I move the camera up and down, an absolute beauty, prepared in such meticulous detail. This one's undergone quite extensive restoration, and it is a runner, and it looks absolutely beautiful as I get the camera down here in detail. So let's start at the front here. Early forms of the 1970s front and rear wings started to move in the 1960s. Lots of aerodynamic designs to try and enhance the handling capabilities of the car and bringing downforce in. And you've got these front wings with these little adjustable flaps at the top here that you can see. The other thing that jumps out, and this is quite common of a lot of the early 1970s cars, you've got the radiator housed inside the front wing just here. That's quite common. Cars like the Tyrrells, the Matras, the Surtees, they all did that, and we're bringing air in through the front and using the radiator. And what you can also see is the pipe work on the side of the car there, taking the radiator fluid all the way around the car. So you've got that pipe work, which drivers and mechanics would have had to be very, very careful with working with these cars. As we look inside the cockpit, you can see this one has really been maintained to a stunning standard. Obviously manual gear shift there that you can see quite close to the steering wheel. I know the gear shift there. The gap there with the seat and the steering wheel looking very, very tight. This car's prepared for someone who is relatively small, I would say. You've got the aluminium fuel tanks on the side of the car there, so the driver literally sitting in amongst the fuel. Quite a dangerous place to be. Got rollover hoops, so we are getting some head protection for the driver, but you'll notice very, very low sides to the car, and these they're not going to provide any protection to the driver, just on the side there. You then move over to this rather large 12-cylinder engine at the back here. BRM persisted in making their own engines for their cars at the time, and it was a little bit of a problem because the engines were powerful, but they were also very, very cumbersome and quite heavy. And the Ford DFV was a much more user-friendly unit, and that was the one that was chosen by a lot of teams to compete with. Now, we just get the camera right in here, you can see some of the other detailing on the car. Looking at the joints and the connecting joints here with the suspension and other parts, you've got the rear axles and stuff here. Really, really well maintained and put together. But just thinking about these joints and how these are all put together, thinking about the different forces that are going through the car, you've got the up and downs from the suspension, you've got the side to side for the G loadings and the way in which the car would have manoeuvred. There's a lot of pressure on these joints, are doing a lot of work, and it was a problem with some of these cars that actually, you know, these joints and different areas were doing loads and loads of different bits of work and almost putting too much strain on the components. So these needed to be monitored by the mechanics and the engineers that worked with these cars. You've got this huge great wing at the back, and we're moving into these more fixed wings. Obviously we're not in the days of carbon fibre yet, these are aluminium. Although did learn an interesting fact, apparently the Lola T70s, so a sports car of the particular era, Lola were actually using carbon fibre in some small areas of the car, just to aid weight reduction. So it was in existence at that point as a material, but not something that BRM was certainly using on this car. I do love the little details here though of the tops of the air filters covering the trumpets there. We've got the BRM detailing on there. It does look absolutely stunning. Dropping down, dropping the camera just down here, these little wing mirrors, again, lovely detailing. Thinking about aerodynamics there, thinking about the way the air flows around them. It's a lovely little car, and I must say produced and been maintained to an incredibly high standard. It really is. Getting up close to this car, you can really see a heck of a lot of work has gone in. I love the little detailing here where you've got the radiator pipe going around the outside of the car. You've got the number painted across. Now when you look at a distance or on any kind of TV shot or camera shot for magazines, you wouldn't actually have noticed that pipe being there. So very, very cleverly done. Another look this side on the suspension linkage and various other parts of the car here. Oil cooler at the back there. You've got rather long, one thing that does stand up when you look at things like Ford DFE engines, how much longer this engine is. It really is it really is quite a size. You've also got strengthening components to give a bit more torsional strength, actually mounted to the engine with the rollover hoop there. It's yeah, it's an interesting piece of design. A car that did have some success. It won one Grand Prix, but ultimately by 1973-74, BRM as a race team ceased to exist, as Formula One got much, much more expensive with the advent of aerodynamics and various other things. And you know, some teams were able to progress. BRM also, as part of the wider Rubri-Owen organisation, there were so many different things that the Rubri-Owen organisation were involved in. BRM was one of the things that sadly fell by the wayside. But a lovely car and a real pleasure to be able to show you guys a little bit more of a close-up look.